was the darkest hour of Jesus' earthly life. The sun had gone out. He was hanging on the cross, bruised, bleeding, humiliated. From that position, he did one final act of kindness. Near the foot of the cross was his mother Mary, her sister, and two other Marys, one of them Mary Magdalene. And also by the cross was his beloved disciple. He looked down at his mother, and he said, "Woman, behold your son." Looking at the beloved disciple, he said, "Behold your mother." And then he said, "I'm thirsty." He gave him a bit of sour wine on a sponge. He tasted it. And then he said, "It is finished." And he died. He was the Savior of the world, but his last act was an act of kindness towards his mother. This woman who had given him birth, this woman who had fed him, who had raised him, this woman who had to endure watching her own son being tortured to death and hung on a Roman cross. So this son, leaving the world, provided another son to take his place. Because in that day and age, a son would be able to provide for a mother, be able to protect her, to be able to offer her a measure of peace. So he offered her another son. It's interesting because less than 24 hours earlier, he did something very similar with his disciples. These followers of Jesus had been with him for 3 years. They had watched him do amazing things. Heal people. Feed people. Eat with people who others would not eat with. Just a couple of days earlier, they had traveled into Jerusalem, Jesus sitting on a donkey, and the crowds proclaiming him the King. Hosanna, save us. But then on this last night, Jesus said, "I'm going away, and where I'm going, you cannot follow me." Don't let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God. Trust also in me. I am going away, but I'm not going to abandon you. I'm not going to leave you orphaned. Because when I go away, I'll ask my Father, and my Father will send you another advocate, another comforter. One who will be with you, and one who will be in you forever. Clearly were devastated. What was going to become of them? What was their life going to look like? And so Jesus tries to prepare them for his absence. But not just with words, but with the promise of a gift. He said, "I've said these things to you while I'm still with you. But the Advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you everything and remind you of all that I have said to you. Peace I leave with you. My own peace I give to you." Peace I leave with you. My own peace I give to you. How can you give somebody peace? Now, often I think when we think of peace, we think of maybe the absence of conflict or the absence of fear. Or maybe we think of a particular particular type of feeling of tranquility. The gift of peace that Jesus has to offer his disciples isn't a state of being, it's not a feeling. It's actually a person. It's the Holy Spirit. That is the peace that Jesus is offering them. I mean, Jesus knows what it's like to have a troubled heart and a troubled spirit. At the beginning of that evening, he looked out among the disciples, and the text says his spirit was troubled. And he said to them, "One of you is going to betray me." Jesus didn't walk through this life unaffected, emotionless, untouched by a troubled spirit or a troubled heart. So when he tells the disciples, "Let not your hearts be troubled, let not your hearts be afraid, trust in God, trust in me," he knows what he's talking about. Because during his life, he had to trust as well. He had to find peace and joy in this life, in a life that he knew would end up on a cross. And he found peace and joy in the presence of the Holy Spirit that his Father had given him at the very beginning of his ministry. And it's this gift, this peace, that he is going to leave with them, that he's going to give them. It's kind of interesting, in the Gospel of John, even though peace is such an important word, it only occurs 6 times. 2 of them you heard today. The last 3 occurrences occur at the very end, after his death and after his resurrection. In fact, the first time you hear it is on the eve of the resurrection, the evening of the resurrection. The disciples are huddled together in fear, behind closed doors, afraid that the authorities will be coming after them next. And Jesus, the risen Jesus, suddenly appears in their midst. And the first thing he says to them is, "Peace be with you." They begin to rejoice, to see him alive again, to see him in their presence. And again he says, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, so I send you." And then he breathes on them and says, "Receive the Holy Spirit." So we have a second passage in John where talk of the Holy Spirit and talk of peace go together. Peace be with you. Receive the Holy Spirit. That's what we do at the precise midpoint of our worship every week. We come in and we listen to Scripture, we go through the liturgy of the Word. We hear about who God is, who we are, how we shall live. We pray for people. In other seasons besides Easter, we confess our sins. And it all leads up to the peace. The peace of the Lord be always with you. Funnily enough, I have never connected the peace with what Jesus said to the disciples after his resurrection. But that's exactly what he says to them. Peace be with you. It's a greeting of sorts, but it's more than a greeting. It's more than a wish. It's a prayer. It's a blessing. And it's a prayer and a blessing that we get to offer one another. When we pass the peace, when we share the peace, we're not just greeting one another, we're giving each other a blessing. We're offering each other a prayer. We are, in a very real way, being Jesus to one another. When we say to another person, "Peace be with you," the peace of Christ be with you, and it is carried by our breath, we are both blessing one another, and we are breathing on one another the Holy Spirit. Likewise, we are receiving that blessing, and we are receiving that Spirit. And it's such an important moment because whenever we greet one another in this way, whenever we bless one another in this way, not know what's going on for one another. Some of us today have come with joys and celebrations in our hearts. And we hear that blessing. Some of us, though, have come here with difficulties, with concerns. Maybe concerns about health. Maybe concerns about finances. Maybe concerns about our family. So we need to hear that blessing of peace, which isn't a wish, but a person, as we breathe the Spirit on one another. To give and receive a blessing is one of the greatest things that God has given us to do. We are ambassadors, Paul says, of God's peace. If we are able to offer that blessing of peace and to receive that blessing of peace in this place, we'll be able to practice it out there as well. Not necessarily recommending that you go up to everybody on the street and say, "The peace of Christ be with you." I'll leave that up to you. But we can bless people. We can bless people with our smile. We can bless people with our presence. But when we're doing the blessing, let's remember, it's not our blessing that we're